Good evening, and welcome to episode 9 of Music Relish Podcast, a music discussion podcast. My name is Lou Colicchio with my co-hosts, Perry Dedovich and Mark Smith. And tonight, we're all going to talk about a bunch of stuff. But before that, we are on YouTube. So if you like us, give us a like and subscribe. We're also on Spotify, Apple, and Google. So look us up.
Yeah,
and
we are out there.
We are out there. And tonight, I'm going to talk about a one-hit wonder and the Jackson Browne album for Everyman. And take it, guys. Mark, you got something to talk about?
I'll be talking about a little class action lawsuit against Mobile Fidelity Labs and some nefarious goings on in the vinyl world.
And I've got a little follow-up on Rebel Rebel, which we spoke about last week. I've got a little information more on that. And I've got a little side thing on Carl Perkins also. And, of course, we all listened to the Jackson Browne record for Everyman, Lou, at your suggestion.
Yep.
So I don't know what you guys want to do first. What do you want to do? The Jackson Browne thing?
A few other things may pop up, too.
Oh, yeah, I have a one-hit wonder also.
Yep.
Yep.
And also, there's another person to talk about, an old rock and roller. Which I just thought
okay.
About
all right. Well, let's tackle this Jackson Browne. I'm want to hear about it.
Okay. Well,
Lou, you want to give a little lead into the Jackson Browne thing?
Definitely. It's Jackson. He's well known. He's a singer songwriter. Came up through the '70s, and he has a recent album out. I don't know the name. I've heard some cuts. It's good. He's an excellent songwriter. As the years have gone on, I used to check him out early on. I've seen him in concert way in the early 80s.
But you saw Jackson Browne, really?
I did. I was dating a girl that was in love with him. All my girlfriends
Dave
are in love with rock
Lindley
stars.
and those guys?
No, it was the Lawyers in Love tour. So I know it could have been Danny Korchmar on guitar, but I do know Russ Kunkel, I believe, was playing drums, and probably I don't know if Leland Sklar was there because it was that long ago. 82, 83 maybe. But I saw him at the Brendan Byrne Arena, of course, in the Meadowlands, New Jersey.
Out there in New Jersey, yeah.
Yeah, it was good. It was a good show. I enjoyed it.
Oh, by the way, last week you had said, where all of our states start with the letter N. Mark's an NY. I'm an NJ. You're an NC.
Yeah.
And they're all new.
Can you think of any other states that start with the letter N?
New Mexico.
Nebraska.
Yep.
New Mexico.
Yep.
Neverland.
Narnia.
Nevada. Of course, we say Nevada, but they get annoyed because that's Nevada.
There's no Ohio. Oh, North Dakota.
North Dakota. Yep.
Okay. Anyway, so Jackson Browne. For Everyman was his second record. It came out in 1973. My older brother had it, and it's that period of time, as it was that sort of getting back to the roots kind of countryish thing. The band ushered in the late 60s. It was the kind of the chill out period from the hippie era, the Summer of Love era, culminating in Woodstock and, Altamont, just kind of, the early 70s kind of chilled out a bit. So this is kind of like that, classic introspective singer-songwriter.
And was it his second record?
It was his second record, yeah. Call for Everyman. It was self-produced. He produced it, but and I like this. I like the sound of this record. It's really warm. It's not loud. It's funny. You can hear everything. It's that type of recording. It doesn't come blasting out of your speakers. It was a different era, of course, but still, I think pretty well produced for his second record. And I don't know if he produced his first record, but it's a good record. Anyway, so actually, it wasn't a huge hit. It was number 43 on the Billboard, I think Hot 100. Rolling Stone ranked this the 450 out of the top 50 greatest albums. All right, it's a good record. I know it's a weird ranking. It came out to mostly positive reviews. If anything, I read that was negative said maybe a bit uneven. He was still finding his voice and things like that. But overall, the praise far outweighed any. And these weren't knocks. These weren't savage reviews. Just little slightly critical. That's what critics do.
Yeah. Yep.
He has some really great guest musicians on this record. Besides the core band itself, there were vocalists. There was David Crosby, Glenn Frey. Elton John played piano on the song Redneck Friend, which was, and you heard it. That's kind of the rocker of the bunch.
Yeah.
I've got a sample of it here.
Okay, good. Don Henley sang backup on Colors of the Sun. Joni Mitchell is on it, Bonnie Raitt. David Crosby sang backups on the title track for Everyman. And I thought I heard him on a few other things. But there's not a whole lot of backers, but he used these different singers for different things. And his connection to the Eagles is obvious because, he co-wrote "Take It Easy" with Glenn Frey.
Well, he pretty much wrote the song and the melody.
I think Glenn Frey took the second verse and added things. I think it was
right.
Yeah,
but Jackson Browne actually
he had the music.
wrote the song, right?
He's
the guy who came up with the chord structure and the melodies. Yep.
Yeah. I mean, he was just stuck. He got stuck on it, and so Frey finished it.
Yes.
The Eagles version came out first, and that's the one I think most of us have heard first. But upon hearing his version, which leads off the album, I like his version better.
Me too.
It's a different.
Felt that way too. I said that to Mark before we were on the air. So, Mark, you want to roll with it? You want to roll with Jackson Browne for everyone?
Hang on a second. If there's anything else I wanted to add in there before we start talking about
all about
songs.
this album. Tell me everything, because I didn't find much info on it.
Okay. So before we talk about the music itself, Spooner Oldham plays a Hammond organ on it. Classic 70s rock keyboardist. David Paich. Is it Paich?
Paich.
Oh, Paich of Toto?
Toto, yeah.
He plays piano on it. Elton John, of course, plays piano on Redneck
He
Friend.
must have been in high school. He must have been in high school when he did that. Damn.
Yeah, I guess, yeah. In Redneck Friend goes to show Elton John is a kick-ass rock and roll piano player. He's on Bang a Gong too by T-Rex. Just rock and roll. He was great. David Lindley, the multi-instrumentalist. This was the beginning of their work together in the years further on after that. Multi-instrumentalist. He played a lot of guitars on it. He played fiddle on it as well. Sneaky Pete Klenow, pedal steel. The famous
on Take It Easy.
Yeah, and guess who's on bass? Guess who's on bass?
Who's on bass on which
Jackson.
song?
The whole album, Jackson. I think almost every song Jackson. I mean, he's a classic 70s bass player. He's still playing, but I think, Mark, you collect pictures of him. No, someone else collects pictures.
Mm-hmm. Lee Sklar?
Yes, yeah.
Lee Sklar of the Middle Finger fame, yeah.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. He of the California Mellow Mafia. That was the nickname for the that group of early 70s session players. And so the drummers on it are Mickey McGee. I never heard of him. He plays on Take It Easy. He's only on one song. The world famous legendary Jim Keltner plays on the majority of the album.
Mm.
One of the fifth Beatles. Gary Malaber of Steve Miller fame and Eddie Money fame. He's a drummer, and Russ Kunkel plays on a couple songs.
Wow,
and
great drummers.
So great drum. Yeah. There's a few other people I'd never heard of them, but I figured I'd give us some ideas of
in
who we
addition
knew.
to Don Henley, is Glenn Frey there? Because I swore I heard his vocals in the background.
He's singing backup on Redneck Friend. That's Glenn Frey.
Okay, yeah.
So what'd you think of the record, guys? Tell me,
Perry?
Mark.
I'll
You
go.
roll, Mark.
Okay, just a quick note on Jackson Browne. For years, I didn't like him because I only knew the 80s Jackson Browne. Aside from Running on Empty, I love that song. Who doesn't? Great song. So I just never gave him a chance. And Perry, I talked to you about this. A couple of years ago, somebody gave me a copy of Late for the Sky and said, listen to this. You'll like Jackson Browne. It wasn't you, though. I don't remember who gave it to me. And I listened to that, and I said, this is a great album. This is really good. So that, hearing his early stuff, now I get it. I get where he's coming from. But when I heard I didn't like his 80s stuff, So this album, I only heard a couple songs here and there, and I'm not I didn't get to live with the lyrics enough, but the lyrics I heard were very, very strong, excellent lyrics. Mm-hmm. I just thought it was great, and I agree with you. The production, it's warm, you turn it loud, and you feel like you're in the room with them. Whoever was playing drums, the drums are very well recorded. He told me he produced it, and I'm thinking when I'm listening to it, who produced this? Because there's really good arrangements and production on this album. Just the song arrangements.
If Glenn John's name was on it, you wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, exactly.
Especially
with the sound. But that version of Take It Easy, when it comes in and you hear the acoustic guitar, just like the Eagles version, so I expect to hear the more hard driving. But once I hear that phased guitar, that classic country sounding guitar come in, I go, oh, this is good. And when it just goes into a better rhythm.
Well, Mark, hang on. Let me give it a little ride here. A few seconds.
Cool. Right? Sounds like could be the Eagles.
That.
Now that was Dave Lindley doing that, right?
And you don't hear the drummer trying to be on top of the beat and make it a driving song. You hear him just playing the song, which I like.
Funny, the Eagles version, Don Henley's drum intro. To me, it sounds so awkward. I'm like, I've done it. I said, why did he do that? I mean, that's just me. It just seems
Well,
like
that was Mickey McGee on drums.
Yeah, Mickey McGee. I think that's the only song he played on. I'm sure
Yeah.
he might have an interesting backstory. You never know. I think I probably looked it up one time, but
Let me
don't recall.
fast forward, see if I can get to that guitar part, all right?
Yeah.
Without getting in trouble. Sneaky Pete.
Or it could be Lindley.
They're
Gotta leave it at that,
They're letting
man.
the
Yeah,
song. They're letting the song breathe, which I really like.
Yeah.
I was never a fan of. I got real. That's probably why I didn't like Jackson Browne. I'm like, he gave us freaking "Take It Easy," and I hate that song. But this is great. And what I like is, and I don't want to get too far ahead of you, but I love how he siegs it into the second song, "Our Lady of the Well." I love that stuff, the way they do that, and you still hear the cymbal as he starts singing "Lady of the Well," which is a fantastic song as well.
My buddies in Barnesville, by the time we stopped playing together, we were doing some Jackson Browne songs. We actually did that version of "Take It Easy" going into "Our Lady." Well, I sang both, and that transition it's interesting. It's nice and easy, but you got to know how to do it and ease into it. But it was fun. When we did, I said that was a fun song to play. I never did that before. It made me like "Take It Easy" again, because that's a song. I think it's a great song, and they coined a phrase. "Take it easy" was one of the catchphrase of the '70s. I mean, you can't deny the impact of that, but it's a
that was up there with that guy with the big foot. Keep on trucking.
Keep on trucking. Yeah, well, that was one of those R. Crumb type cartoons.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, take it easy.
Yeah.
Take it easy.
But Doug Haywood played bass on that song.
On that
Doug
one.
Haywood. Yeah.
So he
Jackson Browne played piano.
Yeah.
Okay.
Our Lady of the Well is a great song. The lyrics to that song are really, really great.
That's a deep song.
It's a deep song. It's talking about uprooting. It's one of my favorite lines is, you raise your children, you watch them as they run. It's sentimental. As you watch your own children grow up, you're like, I know what you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And he's writing he's writing them as a 20-something-year-old. He's writing really good lyrics that would be an older person would write.
A lot of those guys of that era too. I guess maybe they grew up fast. I don't know.
By the way, how old was Jackson Browne in 1973?
He's 25, 27.
Yeah.
I mean, around the same as their Eagles. They were in their were going on mid-20s when that happened.
Yep.
And that's from our perspective, that is young. But I know, Mark, I think you were saying about the 80s. He had to become part of the MTV generation. The Lawyers in Love tour. I mean, that album. That's a really funny video. His Lawyers in Love album. Yeah. You know the song? Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember Down on the Boulevard, the Take It Hard. Yeah.
That was a good song. That was 1980. That was before. I think that was
when there were videos that he had to make.
Yeah, there was video. Now that song, "Somebody's Baby," there's got to be somebody. It's a really nice pop song, and that wasn't typical of him. That was in Fast Times at Ridgemont High, I think.
Yes, it was.
I think when Phoebe Cates comes out of the swimming pool.
Yes.
I think
that's the Cars. That's the Cars. Does anybody knock anymore?
Now, around that time, he did he came under a little fire for getting kind of wimpy. But I read something once with her. He did a thing with Carlos Santana, and Santana changed his name to Devadip or something like it was Carlos Devadip Santana.
Yeah, he found a certain religion. Yeah, yep.
Yeah, so the reviewer, they were doing a double bill. So the reviewer goes, so it's Carlos Devadip Santana and Jackson Wimpadip Brown. It's like, oh man. When someone you don't like and someone knocks someone you don't like, you don't give a shit. But when it's someone you kind of like, you're like, oh, leave him alone.
That's the thing. Like my thing with him was his vocals. They just bored me. But I was hearing it with the '80s type of sound. It should have been more upfront. And but when I hear the person that gave me "Late for the Sky" said, listen to his first few albums and you'll get it. Yeah. I get it. He's so suited to that. But of course, every artist matures, or they not matures, but they move on musically. Mm-hmm. And he definitely because after he did this album, he did "Late for the Sky," then he went Running on Empty. He had some big hits, and that was
that was a huge album. That was a big album.
Yeah.
The first record I've heard about. I'll go back and listen again. But on the second record, they said his vocals improved from the first record to the second. So there was a thing where and even on the second record, one review said in a sense he's still finding his voice. So as a singer, he doesn't have the strongest voice or the greatest range as a singer, but when you know how to use it, when you're writing keys that you can sing in, there's no problem.
Yeah.
But I think on these songs too, like in this stripped down approach, his vocals are very emotional. More than appropriate. They sounded good. I mean, and he's doing some things with his voice too on it. But
I think what I used to remark when I heard him sing, it sounded like he was singing demos instead of actually singing the song. But now, because of this album, I'm appreciating it. Like, it really fits, you know. But I can also see why so many people cover his songs because, he writes these really great songs, and other people.
Yeah.
Let me ask you, because I was doing a little research on the album, I didn't find a lot, which really disappointed me. But it seems like that song "These Days" got covered by somebody I can't remember.
Nico in the '60s and '67. So that was an old song. He had that song for a while.
Oh, wow.
But Greg Allman did a big version
before he even recorded it, right?
Yeah, well, he wrote it, but Greg Allman did it before him. And Greg Allman's version, it's in a different key. Greg Allman does it in E. I don't know I forgot what the key Jackson's version is. It's a great version. And it really suits, Greg Allman's a great singer, very soulful, obviously, but those lyrics really mean a lot when he sings that song. And Jackson even said when it came time to record his own version, he goes, I was trying to emulate that. He goes, not like I could, but that was something, he used Allman's version as his inspiration for doing his own.
Did Greg do it with the Allman Brothers, or did he do it solo?
That might have been some kind of solo. When I seen it on the radio, it says Greg Allman, not the Allman Brothers. So, yeah,
I gotta look it up. I'd love to hear him sing it.
Yeah, it's great. It's bluesy, but he carries it. I mean, the vocally, it's what it's all about. But he definitely nails it, and it's very emotional. But a great writer. In retrospect, once listening to this album again, and this was like only his second record, a great songwriter. Whether he's doing it or someone else, his material really is pretty strong on its own and very melodic. It's a lot of piano based. It's funny, but "Lay for the Sky" that was considered his masterpiece. And I'm like, I don't know. I've heard "Lay for the Sky." I think it's a great record.
All right, can we come back to this record though? What have you?
That's what
more have you got on this one, Mark?
I'm just gonna I won't go on each song, but I liked it so much. I get very laid back. I like laid back singer songwriters, well-meaning music. So at first, I did not like Redneck Friend. I was like, oh, come on. It's like a standard rocker, but no, I love it. I listen to it.
That's a rock and roll number. Yeah.
It's a rock and roll thing.
Yeah. Now, interestingly, I did revisit Late for the Sky, and I like this album a lot better. I do.
You like For Everyman better?
For Everyman better. Including the artwork, which I'm getting ahead, but the artwork is fantastic too. It's his childhood home, and that is a cool home that he grew up in,
I think, in the third record, even the one after that, the Pretender, it became a little slicker, more produced. He's getting more well-known.
Sure,
Jeff Porcaro's on that record. Mark, your camera's not working, but we'll get you back, I think, at some point.
Well, we've got the audio, right?
Yeah,
okay,
we've got audio.
Okay.
That's what we're all about. It's a radio show.
Yeah.
But, when I first heard this reminds me of when my brother got married. I was like 15, whatever. And he was pretty young. He got married, but he had this record. We listened to this on the way to his wedding, that album on the way to his wedding. So
really?
That's one thing. Yeah. It's one thing that sticks in my mind. And
wow.
Now, do you think the song "Ready or Not" would be written today? Some of the lyrics there, it's kind of macho, and Jackson Brown, from someone that was called Wimpy-Dip, it's a pretty macho song, But bringing a girl home, buying her a washing machine because she's pregnant, and I don't know if that would be considered. Yeah, probably not. But the intentions are good intentions anyway. Some of my favorite songs on it. I got some standouts. I do like to take it easy, Into Our Lady of the Well segue. I do like that version. Maybe refresh my mind on the song "Take It Easy." Colors of the Sun. I love that song. Always have. I love the melody. The key it's in. It fits those lyrics. There's very, very much hand in glove there.
The first time I heard it, I loved it. I was like, usually you don't like a song like the first time, you got to play it. But I was like, these songs are epic. They're really good. Yeah.
And These Days is the favorite. I love Redneck Friend. It's a fun song to play too.
Oh yeah.
And the last track, For Everyman. It's a pretty long song. I believe that's Jim Keltner on drums and doing an amazing job. But that shows you that type of song structure on the last song shows you what he's going on to in his next two albums, because the songs got longer.
Yeah.
More sections to just more compositional complexity.
Yeah.
But for me, I think it's one of my favorite records.
Everyman, that's an epic song to end an album. It's a very powerful song. Some good percussion going on in there, being added.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Jim Keltner as a drummer, he's up there with all the others.
Mm.
He's one of those guys because you've heard him, but when you see him play, he makes it look like effortless. So he's doing so much. Perry, you saw him play something one time. He's using like a rain stick and another thing, but the way he's playing is just, it's like, it's like a walk in the park.
I saw him play Razor Love with Neil Young. Yep.
Okay, yeah, and yeah. So the guy's got that feel. He's got that tempo control that is just will not be shaken. But a great bunch of backup musicians.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Nice to see that Lee Sklar was on it.
Yeah.
Great.
Can I offer some commentary on this record?
You should,
Sure.
yeah.
Well, Take It Easy, obviously, it's a great song. Take It Easy is a great song. With Sneaky Pete on the pedal steel guitar.
Gumby.
The next song, Our Lady of the Well, I believe it's called.
Yes,
It's a very deep song, right?
Yeah.
I didn't like it too much. I thought, it's another Jackson Brown song, But Colors of the Sun, boy, that song is interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
In fact, I hopefully I can play a few seconds of it without getting in trouble.
Dying men draw numbers in the air. Dream to conquer a little bit of.
Interesting, very interesting song. Gary Malaber is a drummer on that one. Don Henley does background vocals on it.
Yeah.
And Spooner Oldman does play the Hammond organ on that song.
Mm.
And David Lindley, he played great acoustic guitar on this record. Dave
Great
Lindley.
collaboration.
Yeah.
The song has there's chords in the beginning, very ominous kind of. Doom, doom. It's there's kind of a dark feel to it, but great. Now, Our Lady of the Well is a great song, by the way.
There's it's only opinion. There's another song called I Thought I Was a Child.
Mm-hmm.
Great acoustic guitar
Mm-hmm.
on there. And in fact, let me see if I have a sample of it. I Thought I Was a Child. No, I don't. But Jim Keltner plays drums, and I Thought It Was a Child, but I Thought I Was a Child. Again, I like the acoustic guitar by Dave Lindley, but I don't know. I just found it boring.
I think that's a typical Jackson Brown song to me.
Yeah.
It's not on my list of favorite songs. It's like a transitional song, but I feel the same way about that. That's one thing, it's a good song and a good album and a great album, but it's there could have been something better. But to me, that is just that is a Jackson Brown song to me. And then
now the next song is called These Days.
Yes.
With great electric guitar by, of course, Dave Lindley, right? That's a good one. And of course, Redneck Friend, right?
Yeah. Now, there's my favorite line of Redneck Friend is the missing link, a kitchen sink, 11 on a scale of 10. Did he create 11?
Well, let me roll with this a little bit, right? This could be the Eagles, man. This is just a rock and roll number.
Yeah.
But that's Dave Lindley.
Yeah.
It's Dave Lindley. I'll try and get to the Elton John Barrel House piano part.
Yes, and piano.
Well, I gotta forget all about the battle. It's gonna feel so fine. This is a missing.
Now, Elton John, he wasn't credited on the record. He was Rockaway Johnny.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I don't know if was that a record. Elton John was on what? Was he on MCA or something? And I think Jackson Brown was on Asylum, actually, because he was David Geffen.
Yeah.
So Jackson Brown on Redneck Friend. Jackson Brown's playing rhythm guitar. Dave Lindley's playing slide. Doug Haywood's playing bass. Jim Keltner's on drums, and Glenn Fry's on background vocals on that one.
Yeah. Great song. A fun song.
Yeah.
I in the very early 70s. Now, I wonder if that's another song using the term like my redneck friend. That's Southerners use that amongst themselves. There's certain words certain cultures can use to themselves, but no one else can. Like that at this point in time, I think that might be one. If I call someone a redneck, I might be in trouble.
Well, there's another song called "The Times You've Come." Am I right?
Yep.
Tell me.
Yes.
"The Times You've Come." Great acoustic guitar, almost like Spanish style, by Dave Lindley. Very good.
Everyone's going to tell you it's not worth it. Everybody.
Ready or Not.
Yep.
Great electric guitar again.
Yep.
By Dave Lindley. And Sing My Songs to Me. Right? I may have a sample of this one.
Yep.
Right? It's called Sing My Songs to Me.
Yep. This could be a Bruce Springsteen song right now.
Yeah.
Sandy.
Of course,
Still
Jackson
working
Brown's
down at the trestles.
Jackson Brown's on Joni Mitchell plays electric piano on this song.
Oh, wow.
Gary Malaber is the drummer.
Barry
Bass player.
Malamar.
Gary and Wilton Felder is the bass player.
Don
Don
Felder.
Felder's uncle.
Dave Lindley
That's
plays,
Finger Felder's uncle.
and Mike Utley is the Hammond organ playing on that one.
I've seen that name, but I don't know what else he's about.
Now, the 10th song on the record, the final song on the record, is the best song on the record. It's called For Every Man,
The title track.
the title track. And
Yeah.
I think I may have some of it here.
Everybody
I like the way the song starts. It jumps right in. No intro, just jumps right in. This is the best song.
seeing the end coming down long enough to believe.
So Lee Sklar is the
keyword.
bass player on this one. This is, let me get to this part at the end.
You have to get the chorus.
About every man.
Russ Kunkel is the drummer. This is the best drumming on the record. He does this thing at the end.
That's what I
So
was
he's
talking
just
about.
he's doing, I don't, what is he doing? The bass drums, the tom toms,
Floor tom tom.
floor tom.
Doing a steady roll.
Yep. That's Russ Kunkel. And it comes back in, they come
This
in
guitar,
steady.
the guitar part right there, that little, that's so beautiful. So,
That's
Perfect.
so it's Lee Sklar on bass. That's the only one I have Lee Sklar playing bass on.
yeah.
And Dave Lindley on electric guitar, Mike Utley Hammond organ, Dave Crosby background vocals, and Craig Dorge also
Dorge.
played piano on that one.
Yeah. He's
That's
been
the
on
best
Jackson.
song on the record.
Yeah, it's one of my. I had like 5 favorites. That's one of them.
Yeah.
He played other things with Jackson Brown. He's in there for a while too as a guitar player. I forgot. Leland Sklar was not the main bass player. Now it was Doug Haywood.
Yeah, Lee Sklar played on For Everyman though. Lee
For Everyman,
Sklar and Russ Kunkel. Yep.
And Russ
uh,
Kunkel went on to become his regular drummer for the most
Oh,
part
yeah?
after that. Yeah. He's the drummer on that's Russ Kunkel's drum kit on the album cover of Running on Empty.
Oh,
So
okay.
I listened to the record twice. So overall, I got to say except for the last song For Everyman, the drums sound the same on every single song, regardless of who's playing them, and that's the way it was recorded. They sounded
it's-
exactly the same
Yeah, it's simple.
on every single song. There was
So the
no
style,
deviation.
I noticed the same thing. Like I knew it was different drummers because the sound was same on every song, but the
Right.
style
The
was
playing.
different. And it was a wonderful miking.
Except on
on
the
the
last
drums.
song For Everyman.
Hmm.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
And that could be budgetary reasons too. I don't know. I mean, that was the second record, so
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think it was a huge. It wasn't. Well, actually, where was it? Number 43 in the Billboard. So I mean, that's a good selling record. But
Well, good.
yeah,
as you can tell, the next record after that,
I
Face for
also
the Sky
think
is more produced.
I also think back then they just set the drums up, and that's the way it was. You know, like they're going to
Yeah,
sound the same
probably,
on every
yeah.
single song.
Except
You
the Beatles.
So that was my thing. And so overall, I thought it was kind of boring, to tell you the truth. I thought it was
Okay.
kind of a bit of a boring record. You know, I mean, there's some standout pieces, but
Mhm.
you know, it's Jackson Brown, so a lot of his lyrics are I felt this way, I said this,
Oh.
and you know, me and this, and you know, it's Jackson Brown, man. You know,
It's like a lot. It's a lot of the singer songwriter realm. It's most of the a lot
right?
of it.
It's
a lot of it's
1973.
well, a lot of
right?
it's personal. That was the age of the confessional singer songwriter.
Right. Yep.
So
yep.
he wasn't
And it's
alone in
honest,
that.
Yeah.
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 But
Now,
no, his
it's-
albums as a whole, to me, I understand what you're saying. They're not very exciting. It's not like, but
They're not. They're a little boorish. Yeah.
But they're low key, But
Yep.
But I think it's a solid record. But I think it makes for really nice listening.
Yeah.
I think every song is strong. Some you like better. But I think it's a strong record. It's not a blockbuster, but I think it's a really
And as I said,
it might be that rainy day record.
The acoustic guitar playing by Dave Lindley and some of the electric guitar
beautiful.
playing is amazing. And of course, Jackson Browne's a great piano player. Obviously, you can tell he composed these songs on piano.
I would think so. Yeah.
Maybe not Take It Easy, but
an interesting choice of backup vocalist because it's not a big backup vocal album, but he chose those singers specifically. David Crosby, one of the greatest rock and roll harmony singers ever, and the Eagles, great. Glenn Frey was a great singer. No matter what you thought about the Eagles, great voice, and Henley obviously.
Yeah, you can only judge. I can't judge him. I don't know Glenn. I never knew Glenn Frey. I can't judge him on a personal. Like I can judge him on the records that he does and the singing that he does. And
he wanted to kick Don Felder's ass.
5 minutes, pal.
It's funny, Perry. And the reason that what you said, it's a typical Jackson Browne album.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. But in that setting, that's why I loved it because I was comparing it to the stuff I heard in the '80s. And
I understand. It's 1973. I know that. Yeah.
And I'll live with this album. Like I'm going to get I already ordered it on CD. It's going to be part of my collection. It's great.
To me, it's a sitting on the couch on a rainy day record kind of, or an early morning record. And, but I think it's a good solid record.
Trust me when I said a little boring. I mean. Some of it grabs you, man. The piano playing is like, wow, this guy's something else, man, Yeah. But like you said, it's a singer-songwriter thing. It's personal. So, right, I understand.
Yeah.
But like I said, back then, the recordings, drums sound the same on every single song. Mm-hmm. Nothing, no deviation, or sound exactly the same, whether it's Keltner, whether it's who's the guy? Gary Malaber or
Russ Kunkel.
Right.
It sounded they might have been playing the same drum set. I don't know where it was recorded. Was the big studio, small studio? There's probably factors in there.
Somewhere in L.A., I would guess. Right? Yeah.
Have you ever heard "Late for the Sky," the follow-up record?
Not a Jackson Browne fan. So
no, you will notice a big change in production.
Yeah.
And then the Pretender is a Southern California rock production with Jeff Porcaro on drums.
I've heard those.
Sure, but I was thinking like his progression. At that point, there's money behind you. David Geffen knew you had the goods, and so you got Jeff Porcaro playing, you had Russ Kunkel playing, and that's support. That's support for an artist from a record company that they thought enough of him
back then
to send in.
So,
now on the first Cracker record, Jim Keltner plays drums on 2 songs in the first Cracker record.
Really?
Yeah, and then the rest of it's the regular drummer, but
Okay, I got a little fact for you here. It was recorded at Sunset Sound and Wally Hyder's Studio 3.
San Francisco. Yeah.
So
Wally Hyder's.
Hyder.
Dead used to record there.
Oh, really?
So thank God that they mic'd up the drums good because they just mic'd them up because it could have sounded like crap, if they didn't do it right. So.
That was the Bay Area studio. Creedence even recorded there.
Yeah. So basically the record label or the company gave Jackson Browne, hey, you got it. Go in the studio. You're producing it. You did a great job. Great job.
For self-production, I think so. Yeah.
Yep.
I'm going to listen to the first record because I'll probably know it's on it, but I don't remember it. But I think it was probably a relatively low-key affair, and they said, okay, here's your next step. But it's funny because, David Geffen, and you've seen the Eagles documentary, David Geffen, he was the only one that David Geffen gave him his publishing rights back to Jackson Browne. Whereas Eagles had to go to court for it.
Wow.
And Irving Azoff is your
Don
pitbull.
Henley has issue with Dave Geffen.
But then you mentioned he signed with him again on his solo career. So you didn't learn the first time, but
right.
I like what he said. He goes, he sure can sweet talk you.
Wow.
All right.
So that was the Jackson Browne for Everyman from 1973 on Asylum Records, right?
Yep, Asylum Records.
And guys, just as I always say, thanks for turning me on to an album that I never would have probably listened to.
Sure, man. Yeah,
both of you.
Yep. What's next? What's up? I think we're done with for Everyman.
Yeah, let me do a little follow up on Rebel Rebel. We spoke about Rebel Rebel the other week, or I mentioned it somehow.
It was the Diamond Dogs it was on.
It was on Diamond Dogs.
Okay, that was
right,
cool.
right. And it was not Mick Ronson. Mick Ronson was absent. I think he broke up the Spiders from Mars maybe just before going into the studio with this record.
Yeah.
So there were 5 people in the studio. It was David Bowie on vocals and electric guitar. Alan Parker was the other guitar player. And Herbie Flowers was the bass player. I don't know if you ever heard of
I've heard
Herbie
of him.
Flowers.
I've heard of Herbie.
Yep.
Alan Parker, I've never heard of.
Mike Garson was the piano player, and Ainsley Dunbar, I know you've heard of him, was the drummer.
Ainsley Dunbar was a drummer.
Ainsley Dunbar was the drummer on Diamond Dogs. Yeah,
He's one of those journeyman drummers
on Rebel. Yeah.
Okay, on that
But
song
the interesting
alone.
thing is, Bowie apparently he wanted to sound like the Rolling Stones. He wanted this song to sound like the Rolling Stones with that ongoing riff. Kind of like Satisfaction, where the riff pretty much carries the whole song. I mean, on Rebel, that riff it's throughout the whole song, except maybe, for a few seconds. It's the whole thing. But so Bowie came up with the riff. It was created by Bowie, but Alan Parker is the guy who, and he gave it that descending down. He gave it that descending thing. Down. He gave it that, and he also came up with at the end, "Hot Champ, I love you so." He came up with that, right? But I don't know what happened. Alan Parker said that Bowie came up with that just to piss Jagger off. Like, he wanted to really be like a Rolling Stones type of thing. But I don't know what happened, but I don't know if there was a falling out. But Alan Parker, who played on the song and had did the descending thing and came up with the boing after Hot Champ, I Love You So, was uncredited on the record.
Wow. Huh.
So I don't know what happened, and that's like a mortal sin, not crediting a guy for helping with the record. So I don't know if there was a falling out or whatever, but I mean, think about how much money he lost.
Unless he was bought out,
right?
You know what I mean? I mean, with there's mechanical royalties.
Yeah.
That should go along with this. So that was it. Mick Ronson was not the guitar player on that. It was David Bowie and Alan Parker.
Was Alan Parker was he on the whole record, or we don't know?
There were 5 people in the studio to do the record, and it was those 5 guys: Ainsley Dunbar, Mike Garson, Herbie Flowers, Alan Parker, and David Bowie. Bowie.
Ainsley Dunbar, he's played on a lot of stuff. I think he was in
Journey.
He was the original drummer in Journey.
In Santana.
Right?
Went from
Santana.
That guy was the original drummer in Journey?
And Perry.
Jefferson. Did he play with Jefferson Starship?
Yes, he did. But
that's him on Jane and...
Yeah. And the top 80s cock rock album, Whitesnake, Still the Night, that was all Ainsley Dunbar.
That's right.
He's a
Journey.
Really?
Yeah.
He's a journeyman drummer.
Let me throw something in. You guys all know who Carl Perkins is, right?
Mm-hmm.
Carl Perkins wrote that big hit. He had a
Blue
big
Suede
hit
Shoes.
with Blue Suede Shoes, but Elvis had a gigantic hit with it, right? And he wrote a lot of songs. Can you name me 3 Carl Perkins songs that the Beatles covered?
Matchbox. Did they do Blue Suede Shoes?
The Beatles did not do Blue Suede Shoes.
They did Matchbox. George.
I'll give you a hint.
Okay.
John and Paul did not sing any of them.
It's George. Oh, George is a Carl Perkins freak. Everyone's Trying to Be My Baby.
Yep.
Okay.
Slow Down. Was that a Carl Perkins?
Larry
But
Williams.
Matchbox
That's a
was on
Larry
the flip
Williams song.
side of Slow Down. Matchbox was the B side.
Okay.
Yeah.
Their version of Slow Down is a great song, by the way.
Zebra's version.
No, that's an original song.
Zebra did it.
Yeah.
Get out of here.
Yeah.
That's a Beatle original. Slow Down.
Oh.
No, it's not.
It's
I think
not.
I think it's Larry Williams. I used to take you back home.
No, I thought that was Larry Williams wrote "Bad Boy." Bad little boy moved into the neighborhood.
Maybe it's both. I mean, let's see if they wrote Slow Down.
Well, you know what? Yeah.
What was the third one?
I believe "Slow Down" was a Beatle original. Anyway, there was one more.
I'm trying to think. It's George.
Ringo sang it.
Not that. No, wait.
Well, you guys are talking. I'm going to settle
The
this once
Beatles
and for
recorded 3 Carl Perkins songs.
Yeah, and Ringo sang one. Honey, Don't.
Honey Don't. There it is. Carl Perkins wrote those songs. And George sang, of course, Everybody's Trying to Be My Baby. Yep.
Yeah, cool.
You were
cool.
right. Slow Down was written by Larry Williams. It's on the Zebra. Larry Williams.
So the Beatles did a lot of covers back then.
Yeah.
A lot
Yeah.
of covers, right?
Smokey Robinson, you really got a hold on me.
Yeah. Please, Mr.
Please,
Postman.
Yeah, yeah.
Kansas City.
Besame mucho.
That was
There
good.
were birds on a hill. Until there was you.
Oh, yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
They did a lot of rock and roll. Didn't they do a Little Richard song? Didn't
Oh,
Paul do a Little
Paul.
Richard song?
Yeah, which one?
Twist and Shout was a cover, like an Isley Brothers. cover or
Isley
something,
Brothers.
right?
Yeah.
What did Paul? What was the Little Richard song Paul did? A Long Tall Sally.
Little Richard, Long Tall Sally. Yep.
Guys.
Rock and roll music.
Yep. Louis and I are on driving him to school
Chuck
last
Berry.
week. Yeah. We have the 50s channel on.
Yeah.
Little Richard's version of Lucille comes on. And I never really listened to it. I've heard, and
It's a rocking number, isn't it?
Dude, the
Yeah.
drum beat alone, I mean, and his
Yep.
vocal is out of this world. This guy could
Yeah.
belt it. He was great. But Louis went, damn. I'm like, we looked at each other like, holy shit.
Yeah.
I'm thinking the drummer might have been, is it Earl Palmer? He's one of the Wrecking Crew. He's credited with being one of the inventors of rock and roll. Earl Palmer, the drummer. But the beat is just driving. I mean, that song, I could see why that would scare the shit out of people back in the 50s. Like,
Yeah. Yep.
your kids are listening to, this is before Twisted Sister and Alice Cooper, which drove our parents batshit, whatever.
Yeah, yep.
Whatever scared your parents, Mark,
I scared my parents.
You scared you were your own Alice Cooper.
Yeah.
But that stuff was, what the hell is this noise?
The original rock and roll was really heavy. Then it
Yeah.
got squashed and it went sappy again. And the Beatles had to bring it back to rock,
It didn't sound heavy when we were kids to me. It sounded kind of like, it was something quaint about it. Like even Chuck Berry, some of his stuff. But I'm kind of come around to some 50s rock and roll, which will tie into somebody I want to talk about later. Boom,
Yeah.
boom, boom,
So
boom.
you guys carry on. I have to take down some of my teleprompter and put up some new stuff. All right. I'll be right back.
All right.
I don't want to stand in front of the camera while I do it.
You got
know,
a pizza being delivered.
Yeah. No, I think you should get roadies
Cheat
to
death.
do that. That's
Yeah. Upon listening to that Jackson Brown thing again, I was like, I understand what Perry's saying. It's it's an easygoing, mellow record, but
it's
a
not
lot
for
of records.
everybody. It's
No,
not for
no.
everybody. I like that, and like you brought up, it's that era, early '70s, singer-songwriter,
Yeah,
country. That's where I am right now in my life. I probably when I was 25, I would have said, "This is boring." You
right.
know?
Yeah,
I love it now, though. Yeah,
yeah.
And
I'm-
I told my sister about it, and she's like, "It's one of my favorite albums."
Really?
And I got to get it on vinyl because I want to see that cover. And so I'm gonna actually go into these record shops and try and locate it.
cool.
Yeah.
I was never the biggest fan. In fact, the albums that came after that, my friend John burned me a copy of "Lay for the Sky," and I liked it. I said, "This is a good record," but I'm like, I'm not sure why that can. Maybe it's the songwriting. There's something about that particular songwriting which I didn't grab me in particular.
Mm-hmm.
That's considered his masterpiece. So maybe I'll listen to it again.
Yeah.
But I've never heard the whole Pretender record. I've never heard the whole thing. But the title track of that is another long song. The whole Pretender record itself.
Well, I can't listen to his later stuff in the 70s, and I got it and I liked it. It's just the 80s I am not. But I understand, like recently in the last 15 years, he's doing a lot of acoustic sounding stuff, and I think I'd probably enjoy it a lot more.
Yeah, on I don't know what station I've been hearing it on satellite, but his last album they've been playing some of it. It's a song called "Shaky Town." It's good. It really is good. Like I said, he's 72. We seem to these guys are getting old, and his voice is still good. I think I read where he had to take vocal training because it's not the strongest voice.
Yeah.
And when obviously when you read the stories, when people go on tours, they just get shredded.
Yeah.
You're not sleeping, you're traveling. Air conditioning just kills you. So I can understand why Don Henley would want the air conditioning in his room has to be at 68.5 degrees. You can be a dick about it, but I can understand why you need it done. Are you a fan of 50s rock and roll? Or do you appreciate it? Or you?
Yeah.
Dig it much?
When I learned, basically I saw some documentary where they said what I was just saying, that rock and roll was heavy in the 50s. It was no BS. They were, and it's like, what happened? Well, it got saccharine. It got very people. It really offended a lot of people. Early 50s rock. Some of that stuff is really wild.
Yeah.
You mean the squares, like the parents back then?
Yeah. And people like Frank Sinatra. It's vile, disgusting, vulgar jungle beat music. The artists were threatened by it.
Yeah.
But even Elvis back then, he was formidable. Apparently, I was mentioning to Mark that I've been kind of listening to some more like '50s rock and roll, selectively because a lot of it, even some of the vocal stuff, like more
Mm-hmm.
doo-wop vocal stuff, the music's kind of cheesy and sometimes in a lot of ways by our standards today, but the vocals and the singers in some of these songs, I mean, the harmonizing, it's
Yeah.
great. The way it was done was great.
Yep.
Yeah.
Didn't Brian Wilson pick up a lot from these
Yeah, and
4-part harmonies?
yeah,
right?
well, a lot of those squeaky clean groups like the Four Freshmen and
Letterman.
Yeah, there's the Five Neat Guys.
Yeah, from Canada.
Who made the egg salad sandwiches?
Yeah. Well, thanks for that little break, guys. I had
No
to
problem.
I had to reload my teleprompter.
You
I
got
had
your
three sheets
cute.
of 3 sheets of paper for Capricorn Records.
Well,
You
we
said
did.
you
We
said
did
you had
a
three.
We did a fundraiser, right, Lou? We had people
That's
call
right.
in, pledge,
Uh-huh.
and all that stuff. By the way, is my camera working again?
Yes, it is.
You have movement. Yep.
Oh
Okay.
boy. Okay. I don't want anybody to see me.
The technical world. It's not as clear as it was because you got one of those fancy new cameras that make you look all pretty.
No, I'm a pretty guy.
What were we going on about? No, Perry's camera froze. No, you
Taking those-
jerk.
He's taking a long swill.
I'm kidding with you.
But the wine moves.
So what's the next subject, Lou?
We're just going to talk about love as an emotion, okay, guys? Let's talk about love.
Sure.
Soft
Okay.
and
yeah,
quiet.
yeah.
I'm getting kind of tired.
Yeah, yeah.
It's getting
So I
kinda
think
hectic.
Mark had some stuff on his mind. What was on your mind today, Mark?
Oh, well, I'm trying to bring up something
Litigation.
small. Yeah, because like vinyl's a big rage now, and it drives me crazy because I love vinyl. I love it. I have 2,000
Yeah.
records. I'm just sick of these people that are like, because they're new to it, and they go, "It's the best." No, technically, it's not the best. It's not the best. It sounds good. We all like it, but nothing beats a CD. Sorry, CDs. So there's a label called Mobile Fidelity Sound Lab. You've probably seen them. They've been around since the 70s. They
Yeah.
will just reissue recordings, and their big claim to fame was either doing it from the original masters or doing half-speed transfer, which gets a bigger bandwidth, and that's all legitimate.
Yeah.
And they do some great work. I have a few of their CD issues. I have a couple vinyl issues that they've done. They really do quality work. So they're being sued because, well, I'll just read the paragraph right now. Mobile Fidelity Sound Lab, MoFi as they're known as, a
Yeah.
record label that specializes in high-quality vinyl reissues, is the subject of a proposed class action lawsuit seeking damages and restitution following the revelation that the company has been using digital mastering to make its all analog reissues for more than a decade. Basically, what's going on is they're claiming that stamps for these vinyls, because again, vinyl's hot and everyone wants them,
Yeah.
come from the original stamps, which I always suspected wasn't the case because these stamps wear out. You can't make thousands and thousands of these. So I kind of knew what was going
Stamps are
on.
the thing they use for pressing.
There's a mother, there's all these steps. I'm not really familiar with that. So it turned out that what they do was in the plant, some guy got some people to admit it, they're just using high quality digital files to press these vinyl releases. Now, technically, yes, they broke the law because they're labeling it as one thing and they're not selling it. I understand that. But
So excuse me. They were saying like it's analog masters, but it was really digital masters that
Yeah.
they were using.
So
Yeah.
you got a production plant. I was in this CPI in Hillsdale.
Mhm.
You make your production masters. How do you do it? Well, with us, we had DAT tapes. That's the highest quality. So when you had to make a new production master, it always came from that nice high quality master. I think that's what they were doing with this whole vinyl snobbery. People want, I have a record that's pressed from the original vinyl from 1959. I can't stand that stuff. But they did charge a lot of money for these records, so that's probably where they can get in trouble.
Okay.
So yeah, a guy in down, I think, Charlotte, North Carolina, Lou, down by you. He's he uncovered it and he's suing them. It reminded me of my days in production and stuff, and I want to say, even though they labeled it wrong, and yes, they misrepresented it, I'm happy that they stick to digital. I'm a good quality digital master will never go bad. You could copy digital over and over a million times. So they're just keeping the quality. I hope this doesn't affect them.
But that digital copy, did it come from an analog source originally?
Yeah, I have to believe that
That's
mobile
okay.
fidelity.
That's okay. Yeah.
Yep. That they what their thing is, they'll take the original masters and they'll make a supreme transfer to digital. And like Steve Wilson said, when you do that, if you do the transfer right, that CD, I'm talking CDs, will sound exactly like what they heard in the studio.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I'm a proponent of CD. If I want to hear vinyl, it's because it's got limitations. It's got scratches. Sometimes it's good. It sounds nice, you know.
Right.
So let's see what happens with this. But they're a huge record label in this field, and I don't want to see them go under because I've said it before. I have a very big concern about music with downloading, that people don't understand what a good sounding music file is, whether it's a
Are
CD.
you saying the lawsuit can bankrupt them?
I doubt it, but you know, I mean, how much money do they make?
Well,
They're selling...
it can affect them in the long run because, you know, if you're considered kind of sketchy, even if some people may agree with, you know, the fact that you said it was an analog source that they made a digital copy.
Yeah.
Now, are there many analog sources left to make direct copies from? I mean, you know, you read about all these artists' work that was destroyed in, was it the RCA fire or something?
Universal.
Right.
The Universal fire.
Yeah. And those were master audio tapes.
Who torched that building?
Up, right?
Who burned that building?
Right. So you'll go on Wikipedia and like, so for instance, I'll bring up Toto and I'll read the whole Wikipedia. And then at the end, it says Toto's original masters were in the Universal. So you like for Toto, they can remaster their stuff. They'll never be able to remix because they don't have those multi-track tapes. That's a crime. That is criminal that
That's
happened.
a crime.
Yeah.
Now, we should look up the Universal fire because so much stuff was destroyed there. Every time you go in to do a Wikipedia wormhole, a rabbit hole, you're like, oh, like Carl Perkins' old masters, wherever was destroyed in the RCA file.
Yeah,
I mean, old stuff, new stuff. And why does Universal have all that? And what is Universal's connection to all these different record labels, or are these artists on the same? I mean,
I think it affects mostly American music because a lot of, like, you know, thank God the Beatles, Pink Floyd, Stones, all that stuff's in the UK. And, you know, but I think just a huge chunk of American music was affected by that fire.
Yeah.
And it's a real shame.
Yep. Did they ever find out how it happened?
Yeah, I think I did read on that. I think it was electrical. But
Really?
they weren't storing their records right. Now, you know, Iron Mountain are a company that stores files. My hospital stores patient files. They distribute, everything is distributed like among 4 facilities. So God forbid you have a fire, maybe on a quarter of your stuff. Universal, that's a big, I think they've been sued by some of these artists too, because they're putting everything in one building and they didn't tell the artists either.
Well, how was it stored? I mean, there's fireproof boxes and safes and things like that. I mean, there's something so precious, you know. I wonder if it was any old movie films, and there's just music and.
I'm sure movie stuff was affected. Yeah.
Bummer.
So that's my vinyl gripe. I'm done.
Yeah.
But having a digital backup for all of these, I mean, I don't see an issue with that. I mean,
Me neither.
if it came from an original analog source, I mean, come on, it's the 21st century. What's the issue with having a digital backup that you can use to duplicate,
and
be it
for
LPs from vinyl or more CDs, right?
And for the sake of perishability, I mean, unless these tapes are stored properly, you know, they deteriorate.
That is another thing, humidity and all that.
Yeah.
All right, so here's my little experience. Fire. So here's my experience. We did an Al Cooper tape cassette when I worked in the CPI, and it was it was an hour each side. They wanted to use C120 cassette tape. Horrible stuff. It was 60 minutes a side. They should have done 4 cassettes. They didn't want to do it. So they sent us a master. We were able to have it for 4 days. My job was just take that master they sent us, transfer it over to a DAT tape. That's what we had, which was digital audio tape. Get that transfer, spend all the time on that, because when we were duplicating this cassette, it's so long that there's something called a dupe master. That's, you know, that breaks constantly. So what am I going to do? You know, some cheesy places would take a cassette and make a new production master. Well, that's how you get hiss, and that's how it degrades. I had that DAT tape. So when I read this, the first thing I thought is they're just trying to keep their standards, quality standards. I don't blame them for that. Not at all.
They got put in a purist trap or something. Or how did the guy find out that MoFi was doing that? Like, how did he?
He got them. He talked to somebody that worked there, and they admitted it. And he actually got into the place and he got video of some of the people that work for him that, they lost their jobs. Admitting, yeah, that's what we do. But these guys are probably engineers, and they didn't realize what they were like saying. Like they probably said, yeah, we use digital. It's the best way to not have a degradation of sound quality.
Right.
Yeah.
What's the issue?
Again, they made the mistake.
The purists, right?
It's a purist trap.
Yeah.
And vinyl is going for a premium. That's another thing that gets me mad with this whole vinyl resurgence. So some of these recordings will go for like $60 a record. And you're buying it thinking you got a special transfer from the mother master. Mm-hmm. And yeah, they mislabeled it. So that was their bad.
Any new LP that comes out 180 gram vinyl is like $25, the cheapest, right? And I remember when they were like $8.99, people were bitching like $8.99 for an LP. Come on, right?
I think Tom Petty didn't want to put out the album after Damn the Torpedoes because he protested
the price of the record.
Of vinyl then.
Yeah.
Whatever the record was, Hard Promises. I don't know. Anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah. So
I remember
the good fight.
Music Merchant.
That's when MCA burned his house down.
They hired Stan Lynch to do it. Apparently.
Oh.
Don't piss off Stan Lynch.
No comment there.
You started that rumor, pal.
I did not. I said it was MCA.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Nice backpedal on that.
From Music Relish Podcast. Breaking news.
This just in.
Flash on the bottom.
Lou, you have a one-hit wonder?
I do. Now, before I do that, can we give a little tribute to somebody?
Yeah.
A legend. Mark and I, and when you win a picture,
oh no,
a teleprompter,
a dead legend.
Yeah, Jerry Allison of the Crickets.
Jerry
Allison,
really?
Jerry Ivan Allison of the
Crickets. Was he
the
drummer?
He was a drummer, a great drummer. He died in Tennessee, 81, 82. You know, he lived a long life. He was a good influential drummer. If you look at the drumming on Buddy Holly's songs, different things he did. He did that
Peggy Sue, man. I mean, we just heard Russ Kunkel do that on the Jackson Browne record.
Right, the tom rolls. And that led to Wipeout. But Peggy Sue, that was him. He co-wrote Peggy Sue and That'll Be the Day. Those are Jerry Allison co-writes. You've seen the Buddy Holly story, the movie with Gary Busey?
Yeah.
It's a great movie, but in retrospect, they took too much license about certain things. They didn't use their names. The guy wasn't called Jerry Allison in the movie. The Crickets were Joby Malden on bass and Jerry Allison on drums, and Buddy Holly. Charles, what's his middle name? Charles Hardin Holly, I think.
Charles. Well, the other guys that acted in the band.
Oh, Charles Martin Smith.
Charles Martin Smith was the bass player.
And Don Stroud was the player.
Don Stroud, who's been in a lot of movies. Yep.
Yeah. But they didn't call them by their names for some reason. Buddy Holly never punched a record producer in the face when they went to Nashville, when they wouldn't let him use the drums. So there was some license there.
Yeah.
But of the 50s rock, Buddy Holly is my favorite. And I just think the guy was 22 and he died at 22 after writing all that. He was
writing those songs that young.
And also they were one of those early bands where they did their own material. He wrote his own songs.
Yeah.
I think in retrospect, this is in relation to Jerry Allison, I think Norman Petty's role was a little more honest than I originally thought. In reading about him, he didn't seem like such a bad guy, and he was a very creative man in his own right.
I read it differently. I read
really,
that
like he grafted himself on.
Well, why is he a co-writer on these songs, and why is Norman Petty's granddaughter now a co-writer on some Buddy Holly songs? So
she inherited that through contract, but I do think he did. Apparently, he made those kind of contributions. Anyways, that's another story, though.
Yeah, sounds a little nefarious, but okay.
Yeah, it could be. But Jerry Allison's playing was very innovative. That's him tapping his leg on it for every day. The song "Well Alright."
What was he tapping on his knees on that song?
He's tapping on his knees.
Yeah.
"Well Alright's got. It's just he's using bells and some hand claps. So he was great. But the great roles. But he is the drummer on the Everly Brothers. I wrote it down. It was on "Till I Kiss You." I never knew what a good till I kiss you. The Notebook.
Wow. Yeah.
If you've been listening to the tom toms on that song, So he did session work, but after Buddy died, him and Joe B. Molden and other guys became the Crickets. They did some of Buddy Holly's stuff, and he sang some leads on that. But by the time but the day the music died, Buddy had separated from the Crickets. In the movie,
right.
In the movie, see, they're on the verge of reuniting when Buddy and Richie Valens and the Big Bopper died.
He went to New York and did a whole bunch of solo stuff.
Yeah, yes, he did.
With the different production.
Like songs like True Love Ways. I think it's a beautiful song, but it's slick. It's it's a symphony behind him. But he was on the verge of he would have, like I said, if he lived, he would have been 80. The
shame is he could still be here today. He'd be in his 80s.
He's
younger than Willie Nelson.
Yeah.
What would Buddy Holly be? 85?
Not even that. Well, Jerry Allison's 81. Buddy might have been younger.
Yeah, so he could still be out there like these guys. It's a shame, real crying shame.
But I said, he would have been a giant.
Yeah.
Brian Wilson might not have happened as much. I mean, I don't know. I think it's just a shame. The whole story. I'm fascinated by it.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
So the Crickets, when Buddy Holly recorded he did recordings without the Crickets, like.
Yes.
Already abandoned
yeah.
I didn't know
like
that.
59, I think the last year. He died in 59.
Okay.
The last year he did things without the Crickets.
The Crickets had some hits of their own without him.
Yeah. I actually, Jerry Allison had a song. He did a solo song that Buddy played guitar on. I forgot what it was called, but it was a minor hit. Apparently he could sing too. They didn't sing back.
Where is Buddy Holly's Stratocaster? Did it
who
burn
knows?
up in the fire, or does someone have it?
That doesn't get mentioned. Here's what's weird. Well after the plane crash, like I think a year after, a couple years later, the farmer found his glasses that he was wearing.
I heard that,
and they ended up missing. My buddy's wife got them back. It's macabre, but I'm fascinated by that story because the pilot was not trained on instruments properly, so that was the reason for the crash. But I've looked at the pictures, and the Big Bopper got thrown. He's like 40 feet away from the main crash. Richie Valens, you can see.
You
Buddy,
see all this? There's pictures of all this?
Yeah.
Oh.
I mean, it's not too close because I don't want to get too close. But they were.
And Waylon Jennings lived.
Waylon Jennings lived because he traded his seat. But you know what the last thing he said to Buddy was? Well, they were goofing. Buddy goes, "I hope your car gets a flat tire." Waylon said, "I hope your plane crashes."
Oh God.
And I know he's made mention of that guy. God, I wish I didn't say that. Can't take that one back. There's no do-over on that.
Yeah.
And then there's the infamous Kids in the Hall Buddy Holly skit, which is so friggin' dark. Mark, look it up. I think I might have sent it to you. It's funny, but it's dark. But anyway.
This is what he means, Mark, when he says a monkey was flying the plane.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm Buddy fucking
Holly. You guys a fan of the Young Ones at UK show?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Do you remember the episode where one of them moves out and he gets an apartment? And
I couldn't tell you any
He comes in and there's Buddy Holly hanging down the ceiling with the parachute, and he's like, "I've been up here for 25 years writing songs. I got a new song for you."
Now, Perry and I have a joke between ourselves. Perry's always said that he's the reincarnation of Hank Williams. And I said, yes, you did. Okay. I always said I was the reincarnation of Buddy Holly, right? So when I was in Edenville, our first gig, we were a 3-piece band, like kind of guitar pop. So the club owner, after the gig, he goes, "You guys are the Buddy Holly of the 90s. So anyway, so I have a fear of flying. So when I worked for Whole Foods, I had to open up 2 stores in Tennessee. So I had to fly to Memphis. And I didn't want to get on the plane. And as I'm walking, the last thing I saw is a cardboard cutout of Buddy Holly doing this thing. And I'm like, okay, I'm full of shit because I'm not the reincarnation
I'm
of Buddy
smart
Holly.
enough, I'm good enough, and doggone it, people like me.
And I'm really irrational and paranoid, But that was also a plane ride when they didn't take the plane out. The plane wouldn't take off. There was a problem. There was a exhaust some kind of thing, and they had to replace this part. And I'm like, great.
Wow.
Great.
Yeah.
And then the guy gets back on. And he goes, "People, I'm an honest man, and I'm going to tell you the truth. We put that part in backwards." I'm like, don't tell us that. I'm losing my mind. I'm going to walk home.
Listen.
I was just curious to where the Stratocaster is.
Yeah. We took a side road. Who knows? But anyway.
Hey, they recovered Peter Frampton's guitar.
Yeah.
Les Paul, right?
Yeah.
So, one-hit wonder. You got one too, Perry.
Yeah.
My one-hit wonder of the week. It's a funny little song. I remember this being as a young teenager. I never knew the name of the band until recently. It's 1973 too, so this is a whole theme.
Cool.
The band was called Gun Hill Road.
What's the song? I remember hearing about them.
I'm going to tell you that in a second. They were from Mount Vernon, New York, which is in Westchester County, just north of Manhattan.
And Gun Hill Road's in the Bronx.
Right?
Yeah.
Yes. this is a one-hit wonder. This is a true one-hit wonder. It reached number 40. It cracked the top 40 at number 40.
That's a hit, technically. Yep.
25 cash box, 37 adult contemporary, and in the state of Canada, it was number 53.
New Canada.
It has a distinction of being in the top 10 in more different markets at more different times than any other record in 1973. The song is called "When My Hair Was Short." Does it
Give
ring
us
a bell?
a sample, man. Make sure we can hear it nice and loud.
It's going to come in because it starts right in. Okay.
Wow. I do remember.
Yeah.
Here.
I'll get a little more.
Don't get us shut down. Wow, I do remember hearing that on the radio a couple of times because it only cracked the top 40.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. But you remember it, and Mark,
I do. Yep.
Mark, that's going to get stuck in your head. That's why.
Well, I'm really pissed off now because every time I drive to the Bronx, I go under Gun Hill Road, and I always said that would be a great name for a band.
No shit.
Name, it's already taken. Damn it!
Oh,
That's a
man.
great name for a band.
Really?
Yeah. And to me, that sounds like a 70s type of band too.
It reminds me of the band. Most of them committed suicide. Paul McCartney.
Badfinger.
Reminds me of a Badfinger song. Yeah.
That kind of piano thing. I'm hearing, because of the vocals, kind of weird. I'm hearing Gilbert O'Sullivan, who was big at that time, and also They Might Be Giants. I'm hearing some Might Be Giants in there.
Yeah, well, more They Might Be Giants because this is a silly song.
It's a silly song.
Silly, yeah.
The lyrics are interesting. I looked up the lyrics, and I'll read a couple out. But it's kind of about being a young guy. You know, you're gonna have to grow up eventually. Because he starts off kind of fresh and scrubbed. He goes to college, grows long hair. There's a song in there. I was honest to God, hippie freak. So, but some of the lyrics. Yeah.
What record label were they on? Do you know?
Don't know. Mark.
I'm working on it.
It's like, back when my hair was short, I wore a white sock sport, wore pointed shoes and pegged pants, drank till my eyes were red, hid Playboy neath my bed, slicked my DA for the dance. But then meeting friends in court for stealing hubcaps, and then he goes. But the main thing is we dreamed about love. We were experts on love. So there's this positive side to this song.
Yeah.
But then there's I changed my ways, college and long hair days, seeing 3 concerts a week, an honest to God hippie freak, too busy eating to speak. So it's about like growing up. They've only done 4 albums, but that's their only hit. In 2019, they reformed to do a new album. COVID stopped it, but they ended up putting it out. But they did a song called "I Know You're Real." I listened to it. It's cute. It's these guys. Maybe they're in their 70s too, but the lyrics are kind of spiritual. It's interesting. But I'm like, yeah, it's a kind of neat little song for that. I can see that's like a little nichey thing where if you were around in 73 and you were like 18, you're gonna go see Gun Hill Road, and the kids are gonna be like, yeah, okay, have a good time.
They were signed to Mercury Records and Kama Sutra Records. 2 big labels.
Probably Kama Sutra back then.
Yeah. So the production on the second record, they changed them back when my hair was short. They changed some of the lyrics around, but it was produced by Kenny Rogers.
Oh,
really? Kenny Rogers of the first edition.
Yeah. Now I'm wondering, he produced Shiloh around that same time, which was Don Henley's band one of his bands before the Eagles.
Yep.
Kenny Rogers produced them. So I don't know where they recorded, but that was one of those songs. I just think it's amazing how this stuff sticks in your head. So it's catchy enough.
Yep.
But they opened for George Carlin and Robert Klein, among others.
Robert Klein.
Poco.
Wow.
Poco. But I read where they were in demand as an opening act. So that's all I heard. I did check out the song "I Know You're Real," but it's interesting. I was surprised. I wouldn't go see them, but I thought, they kind of write still quirky material, not unlike that song, 50 something years later is pretty neat, But like I said, the first record was apparently critically well received. I don't know what it sounds like though, worth checking out, but that's That was my one-hit wonder, and it screwy little.
Oh, they got their own website. I'm looking at a picture of them now.
Yeah, they reunited to their manager was the owner of the Bitter End in New York City, in the Village. I played there a couple times and do some jam stuff in the mid '80s. So they got together in New Jersey. I think it was in Montclair maybe to do a benefit. I don't know if it's for cancer research or for children's cancer or something, but it was also to promote the Bitter End and its owner, who was their manager.
Okay.
And they were from New York. They were from Westchester.
Yeah. Ah, my favorite. Damn, I always wanted to make a band called Gun Hill Road. Damn it.
Cool. I've got
maybe they need a guitar player, Mark.
Yeah.
Maybe you can noodle on the guitar.
Back when Mark's hair was long.
I've got a one-hit wonder. I'll play the opening bars for you. See if you guys can guess what it is. All right.
That is Billy Swan. I can help.
Yeah, Chris Christopherson gave him the organ. We went over this on the old radio show that we did. Chris Christopherson and Rita Coolidge's wife gave them the organ.
You need a hand, I can assure you this. I can help. I got two strong arms.
I think it was a number one hit.
I think that was a hit, and
Yeah.
I'm not alone in thinking. A lot of people said that was Ringo. I always thought that was a Ringo single.
Me too.
Ringo
Yeah,
could
did
very
you?
well sing that song. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. There's a cool thing, and it's a drum geek thing. The little thing he does in a hi-hat. Diddly diddly dint.
Yeah,
It leads in
absolutely. In fact, I'll do the intro again. You'll hear it, right?
the simplicity of genius, the genius of simplicity.
You hear that? Yep.
The moments I live for.
Little background vocal. Yeah, better leave it at that before we get in trouble.
Yeah.
That guitar intro is very reminiscent. Now, Adrian Belew, when he was with King Crimson, there's a King Crimson song that starts just like that. Adrian Belew got that from that song.
Yeah, it's an odd little intro. Yeah. Yep.
I thought it was a King Crimson song you were laying on me.
So that
it sounds like Prague Chuck Berry to me.
That was Billy Swan. He was very famous. He was, he did some production work. He's but Chris Christopherson and his wife at the time, Rita Coolidge, gave Billy Swan the organ that he's playing in that song as a wedding gift.
I wonder what kind of organ it is. It doesn't sound like the Hammond. It doesn't have that.
It's not a Farfisa. It's not a Hammond. It's just some other. When we did the old show many months ago, that was one of my one-hit wonders then, and I had more info on it.
Many Moons. He was born in, get this one, he was born in Cape Girardeau, Missouri. That's cool.
Yeah, Missouri.
Yeah.
That was a number one song.
Billy Swan, yeah.
It was number one, yeah. Yep. Billboard Hot 100 and the Hot Country singles chart. I was reading through. It said he did stuff for other musicians. He's still alive. He's 80.
Yeah.
I wonder who played on it. It doesn't say. I wonder who played the guitar. Well,
that's
Elvis.
a great intro.
Well, check it in. Loretta Lynn, Elvis Presley, Tom Jones, Ringo Starr, and others performed covers of this song.
Yeah,
so Ringo.
You can absolutely hear Ringo singing that song, right?
So, somebody said, "Hey, Ringo, you really don't want to cover that song." You know?
Yeah. Here it is. That's Buddy Holly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Down.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounded like a Buddy Holly song right there. Yep.
Now, what year did that come out?
I don't know, 72?
Let's see.
74.
74?
Yeah,
74. Now, if it was
74?
If it was 73, we'd have an unknown numerical synchronicity happening because Jackson Browne was 73. Back when my hair was short was 73. I had my appendix taken out in 1973.
Dang.
Yeah. Took them out myself.
Was there a song like later on it went more? How do you like it?
How do you like
more?
They run from Long Island, Perry. How do you like your love? What have you done for me lately?
Coffee.
Coffee talk.
Coffee and chocolate.
Coffee and water. Now people, that's a Jersey, New York thing. Water. If you're Massachusetts, it's water.
Well,
WADDER.
I say water sometimes, and I'm from Bergen County, New Jersey. I don't know where the hell that came from.
Wow. Okay.
Water.
So can I go into a defunct record label called Capricorn Records?
Capricorn, yeah.
Which we've all heard of. Everyone's heard of it, right?
Yes.
It was started in 1969 by two guys, a guy named Phil Walden and Frank Ventnor. And they started they were credited with starting the Southern rock sound, sort of.
Yeah, that's right.
In 1969 in Macon, Georgia, they started this.
In Macon?
Right. In the 1960s, Phil Walden and his brother Alan, their family business was managing R&B acts like Otis Redding, Sam and Dave, Al Green, and like Percy Sledge. They were managers of this. And as Otis Redding became more famous, they decided to start a company. So they started a publishing company called Red Wall, which was Redding and their name Walden. It was Red Wall Music. So they started their own publishing company. And they started, they were making money. So they bought 4 buildings in Macon, Georgia, and decided to start this complex. But they needed money. So they went to Jerry Wexler, who was the vice president of Atlantic Records. You guys all know that, right?
Biggie.
And Jerry Wexler liked the idea. He says, this is great. He said, but you should start your own record company too. Start a record label. And of course, you have to open a studio. And so the only thing they had in common was they all had the same astrological sign, Capricorn. So they decided to call it Capricorn Records.
Cool.
But of course, in '67, Otis Redding got killed in the plane crash, and they decided not to. They didn't want to go into the R&B thing anymore, But so Jerry Wexler talked them into starting the studio, starting the record label, and all those kind of things. So they said, well, we have to find talent now. And when they started Capricorn, they wanted to make it sort of like Stax Records, in that sort of vein. And they wanted to go like Fame Studios. Remember, there was a Fame Studios. I don't know if it was in Memphis or somewhere more further south, but it was very famous. Like, might have been like Muscle Shoals might have had Fame Studios, the recording studios. Well, that's what they wanted. So they came up with it was called the Capricorn Rhythm Section. So they came up with 4 guys. One guy's name was Paul. Paul Hensley. Paul Hornsby was the keyboard player. No relation to Bruce Hornsby, as far as I can tell. Peter Carr was the guitar player. Johnny Sandlin was the drummer, and Robert Pops Powell was the bass player. And this was their rhythm section. Now they needed to go. Well, they played on a lot of records. This was for singers who needed the studio musicians to do it. When you recorded at Capricorn, these were the guys. Stax had their guys, and all these other Muscle Shoals had their guys. That's what they wanted to be like, sort of like that. But they needed to recruit talent. So they heard Duane Allman playing on Wilson Pickett's version of Hey Jude, and you guys have heard it. Yes. And I mean, Duane Allman just kicks ass all over that record. So they recruited Duane Allman and bought his contract. They bought the contract of Duane Allman, and they actually helped start the Allman Brothers, create the Allman Brothers with Duane Allman, recruiting the guys and, what became the Allman Brothers Band. But so they bought 4 buildings in the studio. They built 4 echo chambers underneath the building and ran them directly to the control room.
Wow.
So it was, I guess it was a special, the wires went right to the control room, right to the board.
I wonder if they had different, there's echo chambers. Each one had a different way. There's Gold Star is known for having a certain reverb and echo. Sunset Sound probably. So they probably were able to recreate these different
Right, because I've heard of these things with these big giant plates,
Yeah.
like the ones at Abbey Road. You know, like there's a special room for them or a special structure for them.
A reverberation room.
But they started signing. So, I mean, they have Capricorn Records. So, of course, they had the Allman Brothers. They created the Allman Brothers. They signed a group called the Dixie Dregs.
Wow.
Steve Morse.
Steve Morse.
They signed a group
Rod
called
Morgenstern.
Yeah. They signed a group called Stillwater. I think they were from Macon as well.
Yeah.
And a group called Sea Level. They would
Sea
even
Level.
rent the studio out. They'd rent the studio out to like Charlie Daniels Band would record there.
Sea
They
Level
weren't on
almost,
Capricorn, but they would, rent the studio.
Sea Level was almost jazz fusion, Southern jazz
Yeah?
fusion. Yeah.
I never heard of them until I started researching this.
Paul McCartney's drummer, I think, from the Wings at the Speed of Sound, Joe English, I think he joined that after he played with
Oh,
McCartney.
yeah?
I think so.
So they would rent the studio out, and Martin Mull would record an album there. You know, they're like, yeah.
Did Steve Martin do King Tut there?
I don't know. But so Capricorn signed Bonnie Bramlett. They signed the Marshall Tucker Band. They signed Delbert
Wow.
McClinton. Groups like that. They were on the Capricorn label. Because I remember hanging out at people's houses and, like, you know, of course, I'm always looking at the records, always looking at the liner notes, always looking at the sleeves and everything.
You were looking for those gatefold albums. I know why.
Yep, yeah, to roll some joints on them. Yep. So in 1975, Warner Brothers put a bid in to buy them out. And it failed. So I guess their deal with Atlantic was up. So Warner Brothers tried to buy them out. It didn't go through. So they signed a new deal with Polygram for distribution. So the trouble was, in 1975, they signed a deal with Polygram. The following year, the Allman Brothers Band broke up. So now, where are we now? What do we do now? Right?
Sign the Outlaws.
So it got worse. It only got worse financially for them. So in 1979, they were facing foreclosure.
Well, that's because the Allman Brothers were their cash cow. That was the big band.
I suppose so, yeah, because Delbert McClinton wasn't selling so many records.
Or Sea Level either.
Yeah, Marshall Tucker Band may have been, I don't know. Bonnie Bramlett, I don't know what kind of, how big of an artist she was, but
Marginal.
it wasn't millions of sales, right? Yeah. So in 79, they were facing foreclosure and debt, and Polygram offered to buy them out, but didn't happen right away. So they were so strapped financially, they had to close their offices in L.A. They even had to cut back in Macon, Georgia, their headquarters. They had to cut jobs there. So Polygram now sues them. Polygram sues Capricorn Records because Polygram gave them $5 million when they signed the distribution deal with Polygram in 77. And now they have $5 million. They don't have the money coming in. So they're in dire straits now. So what happened was the artists that were on contract with them knew that they were screwed. The artists started terminating their own contracts with Capricorn.
You do that?
They terminated their contracts, and the Allman Brothers sued Capricorn to stop the release of a greatest hits record that they didn't want released.
Okay.
Yeah, so
just to pay their bills and
they were at odds.
Keep the man off the back, yeah.
They were at odds with everyone now. Capricorn is really in hot water now. So Polygram sued them, and Polygram got the better end of the deal. Polygram got all the master tapes.
Wow.
All of them. They got all the recordings. They got all the copyrights. And this is what these companies do, right? So Polygram got all the master tapes, all the recordings, all the copyrights, any existing tapes that were there. They got all the records and other properties from Capricorn. So Capricorn's pretty much done at this point. But between 1969 and 1979, that 10-year period, Capricorn had 9 platinum albums, 17 gold albums, and 5 gold 45s, 5 gold singles. So that's a pretty good run for an independent record company.
It wasn't only the Allman Brothers, though. So the fact that maybe these other artists did, I mean, Marshall Tucker was
Marshall
big by the
Tucker
mid-70s.
Band, yeah, yep.
So maybe were there any more artists on their roster that were more well known? Like, I mean, the Allmans sold a lot of records, but
They
so
had Marshall Tucker, they had Delbert McClinton, they had Bonnie Bramlett. I mean, there were probably more,
people do buy their records, though, even though that contributed to that total.
Yeah, and this is 1969 to 79, so people bought records.
Yeah.
Still.
I guess the problem was they didn't have any hard, like, huge hits.
Yeah.
Aside from the Allman Brothers, they had a couple artists that had huge hits that would have really helped them. Yeah.
But so Polygram really got everything. Master tapes, recordings, copyrights, which is, imagine what the copyrights are worth by itself, right?
Yep.
So in the 90s, they attempted a comeback. They signed a deal with Warner Brothers. And so they tried to get Capricorn back. They signed a group from Athens, Georgia called Widespread Panic.
Okay.
Jam band.
A jam band, yeah.
Yeah. And they signed a group called Cake.
Cake. I like a girl with a plastic raincoat.
And they signed a group called 311, 311.
I still like 311. That's right.
Who are they?
Now listen. That's funny, Perry. You're just. When I worked in Connecticut for the other duplicator, we did promo cassettes, and I remember getting a master 311, and it said Capricorn Records, and I go, "This is that label all my Allman Brothers albums are on."
Yeah.
And the producer of their first album was Eddie Offord, who is known for Yes. He just came out of retirement to produce this. 311's like a ska, reggae, heavy, a little bit of heavy. I can't really put together. I like them. It may not be your taste, but they're a good band.
But they were on the Capricorn
Capricorn
rebirth. They were on the rebirth. Yeah,
they were reaching beyond the Southern rock. They were obviously trying to get. They were smart.
Well, here's the thing that you said that because in the 90s when they signed a deal with Warner Brothers as a relaunch, they had a Nashville office, and in Nashville they signed a unknown called Kenny Chesney.
Wow.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
And they had an office in Atlanta. They signed an unknown group called Government Mule. So, yeah. Yep.
Warren Haynes of Asheville, North Carolina.
Yeah. Yep. So,
Warren Haynes also has had a long tenure or did with the Allman Brothers.
Yes.
Yeah. There's like another Capricorn connection there, right?
Wow. And that's a great resurrection story, though. I mean, that's something.
Yep.
To come back from that, and they didn't try to resurrect Southern rock.
And the original building, the original studio in Macon, Georgia, is on the preservation list in Macon, Georgia. So now it's been preserved.
Oh, cool.
The studio is still there. You can tour it and all those kind of things. Yep.
Okay.
Now, around that same time in Atlanta, Al Cooper was working with Leonard Skinner. And Atlanta was a wild town, apparently. In early 70s, Atlanta was, I'm not 3 hours away from me, 3-4 hours, but it was a wild town, But just a different locale, but along the same vein of music.
But independent record companies, I mean, of course, you have to have a distribution deal with some big company. But, 9 platinum albums, 17 gold albums, 5 gold singles.
Right.
Not bad.
No,
not bad.
I'll tell you what, Allman Brothers were the gift that kept on giving to Manicore because Sea Level was actually an offshoot of the Allman Brothers.
The keyboard player. Who's the keyboard player?
So it was bassist Lamar Williams, who was the bassist at that time of the Allman Brothers. They were breaking up. J-Mo, the one drummer, and Chuck Leavell, who see him with the Rolling Stones now.
Rolling Stones,
So that was
Chuck Leavell is the musical director of the Rolling Stones, by the way.
Yeah.
Is he really?
He is. Yep.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's at Sea Level. I'm going to give him a listen. I never really heard them before.
I've seen them I saw them on television in the late 70s, or maybe around that same time, in one of the late night rock shows, and they were good. I mean, these are great musicians, but it had a sort of a southern jazz, not heavy jazz fusion, if I recall correctly.
Yeah.
But as I said, when they were into financial troubles, Dixie Dregs terminated their contract, Stillwater terminated their contract, Sea Level terminated their contract with Capricorn. Yep.
That is a bad time to be in their offices. Just like every day, something bad. I've been with businesses like that when you feel the momentum of everything falling down. It's bad.
But Polygram sued them and got everything valuable, everything. Master tapes, copyrights, existing tapes, recordings, Polygram, really, like, wow.
That's the music business is a dirty, dirty business.
Yeah. Yep.
Oh, I think there's more dirty stories than good stories in a lot of ways.
So
It's just-
that was my little thing on a defunct record label. Well, they could be back, but Capricorn Records. They
Very cool,
existed for
very
a good decade in there. Yep.
That's so interesting. Yeah.
And you mentioned they were considered the record label of Southern rock, and Southern rock
Yeah.
that was a big chunk of the '70s, like mid '70s to like early '80s, where that was like us being from Northeast and Northern New Jersey. A lot of musicians we knew, they all wanted to be Southern rockers. They wore Confederate flags on their denim jackets as people from Jersey.
Yeah.
Um,
And in the Capricorn rhythm section, Paul Hornsby, the keyboard player, he was a producer also. He produced a lot of these hit records. Yeah.
Lou, another thing about Jersey kids wearing Confederate flags, Dukes of Hazzard had something to do with that too.
I would think so.
Oh, another thing, Lou, Rod Morgenstein, best known as a member of
Was he in White Snake too?
Winger.
That's what you mentioned. That he was in Winger.
So Beavis and Butthead made fun of him. Yeah.
I would think he needed to get a big paycheck for that.
He played really good with them, actually.
I would think he would. He's a great drummer.
He didn't cut down his chops to play with them. He still played
Really?
some
Okay.
fantastic drumming.
I have to admit, I only know Winger from MTV and that one song.
Yeah, Kip Winger's a fantastic musician, but he
What
took
was
the
the song she's
hairband.
I couldn't tell you one Winger song.
She's only
She says-
17.
She's only 17. Yeah,
How does that go?
she's almost legal.
Yeah, Terry, if you don't know how that goes, come on. I mean,
I can't hum it out, but I remember seeing that. And but at the time too. I mean, in that part of the '80s, I was so anti a lot of that music. It's just,
Anti-power ballad.
so
anti the hair metal bands. It just I heard them.
what happened? What happened was, what happened was Beavis and Butthead. It was a big hit, and then it was on Beavis and Butthead, and they were making fun of him, so that brought him down, like that destroyed Winger, because they would start making fun of him,
And as we said, Lars Ulrich had a Kip Winger thing, and they're on their dartboard that they would be, flinging darts at. But he felt bad. He said years later he felt bad about it.
Yeah, the indiscretions of youth.
Yeah. What other subjects have we got, guys?
That I think exhausted what we said we were going to talk about with a few
done.
extemporaneous travels off the path.
Wow.
But hour and a half.
It was a good show, man. So should I kick in the closing theme?
Is there anything we left out? You can reach us at musicrelishpodcast@gmail.com because only one person has.
And
But
and
we're out there.
YouTube. We're on YouTube.
We're on
if you want to
YouTube.
subscribe to us.
click like, subscribe, please, if you like what you hear. We're on almost every week.
And if you like looking at 3 Max headrooms, subscribe to YouTube.
Wait, let's do the frozen. Let's do the frozen webcam again. Damn, my lights are still moving. Damn it! It's either the Chardonnay or the lights moving.
And you can also catch us on, we're on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, and Google, and look for your Music Relish swag. They're only bobbleheads and Pez dispensers. That's all we're doing. maybe a trucker. All right, Perry, you happy now? Only a trucker hat or maybe a T-shirt, but we're working on this stuff. We hope you like what we're doing.
Well, I like what we're doing, right? Don't you?
I have fun. I'm having fun. Mark, you having a good time?
I have a great time. I still thank you guys for making me a guest on this show.
You're not a guest anymore, you jerk. Come
Yes,
on.
I am. Neil Peart was always the new guy in Rush.
Hey, it's
You
Neil
may always
Peart.
be the new
It's
guy, but
Neil
you're one
Peart.
third.
Neil Peart. Guillotine, not guillotine.
Here.
We're not speaking French.
Mark's like Ron Wood. We're going to make him a full member in another 10 years, maybe.
Yeah, I'll come.
He's gonna draw salary.
Yeah, when I run out of money, guys, I need money. You're gonna tell me, Mark, you got to clean up. You got to stop drinking.
I'm enjoying my coffee.
Do.
Music.
Yeah.
Relish
Yeah.
podcast.
So we covered a lot of topics tonight, right? We covered Rebel, we covered Carl Perkins, we covered Capricorn Records, we covered Jackson Brown for Everyman.
We paid tribute to the late, great Buddy Holly and the Crickets drummer, Jerry Allison.
And the
Did we?
after show party is in my house. Come on over.
Full swing. All the cool kids are going to be there.
All the cool kids.
The cool kids in Brooklyn.
Thanks to an unnamed brand of Chardonnay for sponsoring tonight.
Wait, that's Australian Chardonnay, is it not?
Dingo drank your Chardonnay.
Crikey.
Hey, they're not gonna. Come on, man. You know, we had a listener in Australia, but they're not gonna be upset. Come on, they're the nicest people on the globe.
They're the
Mark's
coolest.
drinking in the land down under.
You know,
Oh, please. Can you get
Australians know how to have fun, man. You
They
know?
sure do.
They do.
They're kind of like Americans. They like big things. We like things big and big and brash. They're kind of like us in that way, you know.
Yeah.
But people
Yeah.
hate us. People hate them
Yeah.
too.
Hey, there's country artists that are Australian. Who's that country artist that's from Australia?
Big time.
Oh,
Married
yeah.
to his Australian wife, Nicole Kidman.
Yeah, Tom Cruise.
No.
Oh, that's it. We're going to get sued.
Is that Keith Urban or something like that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good night,
Is there-
everybody.
Good night.
Good night.
Fare thee well.